Okay, let's do a quick mic check. Okay, mic check seems like it's working just fine, which is good. Um, Now the only issue is, oh wait, one of the things is still working. One second. Okay, there we go. I was getting what's it called? An echo, just making it really hard to concentrate. All right, so that works. That's great. Um, Cool. Hey, French fries, welcome. How you doing today? Thanks for letting me know the mic's working. Yeah, early stream today. I have a lot I'm trying to do today. We'll see how it goes. Um, Only issue is my okay, face cam's working, but my only big issue you can see is that my camera is completely messed up right now. Um, hey Heather, welcome. All right, I have to completely change my camera settings here though. Um, Sorry, this will take a second. This is a whole other issue here. This is a 16 by 20, what's it called? Canvas, well, panel. So it's definitely a different type of thing. So I have to get the proportions completely different here. It is 16 by 20 is proportionately the same as an 8 by 10 though. So that's what I'm using for that. But yeah, sorry, I am as always doing this live on stream because who has time to set everything up in advance? I don't know who has that kind of time. I mean, that would be the right way to do things, but who has that time? I don't, most of the time. How's everyone doing today, by the way? French fries, Heather, how are you both doing? So, I think Heather says I'm good home from school. That's great. Glad you're doing good. The stuff you shared about what you're working on for school is looking good, by the way. Good, addresses, just getting home, had to do a couple chores. Good timing on your end. I'm glad I could time it well. All right, this is almost good. There we go. I think that's pretty close. And that's pretty straight on. I think that's about as straight on as I'm going to get it. All right. Heather says, thank you. I've gotten A's on all my projects so far. Awesome. Good job, Heather. All right. So this, what I'm working on right now, like I said, it's for, uh, well, I said this, but you may have not seen the video. This is for a competition for, what is it, Portrait Society of America, for their annual competition. We'll see if I'm able to finish it in time. I left it for the last minute, of course, because of course I did. So we'll see if I'm even able to finish this in time. If not, I'll submit something else probably. I don't have high expectations of winning the competition because my style doesn't entirely fit the way that they, their overall style. But, you don't have to win to get something out of it. So, it's all good in that sense. Sour cream lady, hey, welcome. Hi there, she says. Hi, how you doing today? So this is bigger than my, for anyone who's new, this is bigger than my normal paintings. It's taking longer and so on. But that is just the way it is sometimes. Sour cream lady says I'm all right. Stayed up a bit late studying. So now I finally catch your stream. Haha. I came in once, but you were about to end. Sorry to hear that. What time zone are you in? If you don't mind me asking. You don't have to share specifics, but like, um, I don't know. Or you could just say like what time it is, because right now it's like 4 p.m. here. So yeah, I'm in Lithuania. Okay. Um, I'll have to look that up. Oh, it's midnight. Okay, so let's do some math. 8 hours? No. Yeah, 8 hours, right? 4 to 12? Yeah. Hey, Des. How you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. French says I'm from Northeast. It's 3 here. Okay. All right, let's see here. This is Lithuania, Latvia, kind of across the water from Finland, Norway, Sweden, attached to Russia. Used to be part of USSR back in the day. Okay, let's see here. I'm looking at my painting and my reference photo, trying to figure out, placement of things if I need to adjust anything. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one will know or care. It has to look right. So a combination of close enough and looking good. Sour Cream Lady says we aren't neighbors with Russia, though. That's a good thing. They sound like horrible neighbors. All right, let's see here. Oh, we have a cat friend. So let's say hello to our cat friend. She will probably hiss and be angry. This is Misu. Misu. Misu is our little angry calico. She's our little guard cat. Anytime she sees a cat outside or an animal outside, well, no, not animal, birds she's okay with. She wants to kill them, but she gets upset whenever she sees, what's it called? Other cats or dogs outside, which has caused a ton of problems because we have a cat that, a local neighborhood cat that uses our backyard for safety. But yeah, otherwise, she's a sweetheart. She's very vocal. She hisses and yells and stuff like that at me all the time when I do anything that upsets her, but she is very sweet regardless. Watch, she'll hiss at me. Right now she's growling. Not growling, like whining, but she'll probably hiss at me too if I do this just a little too much. She'll hiss and be purring at the same time too. So I think she's a little confused about things sometimes. Her little ear is docked too. You can kind of see it there. We didn't do that. We rescued her like that. She's just a baby. No, she's like I think she's like actually she's probably closer to 6 now. Maybe 7? How long have we had you, little girl? Seems like forever. Okay, okay, you can go. You can go. Hey, she's so silly. She's still a baby in my eyes. And they all are, they're all babies forever, really. All right, let's see. Now I have to figure out where I was again. I lost my place. All right, let's see. Where was I? Okay. I have to fix her lip a little bit. It's a little out of place. What else? Her eye needs a little work and hair a bit. Um, let's see. Does is telling Sour Cream Lady that I'm streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. Yeah. So if I talk to someone like and seems like he's bonkers, it's because he's replying to someone on YouTube. Haha. Yeah. Or if I or for people on YouTube, I'm talking to chat on Twitch is what is happening. The chat features on Twitch are better, but other than that, I feel like the experience on YouTube is probably better. I think there are less commercials on YouTube, and there are what's it called? Um, the playback feature I think is better on YouTube, but the chat features are definitely better on Twitch. French fry says, I just hate seeing the ads on Twitch. That's my biggest issue. I get that, French fries. And also if you're on what's it called? Mobile, the app on uh on YouTube is so much better. So it just depends. Sour Cream Lee says maybe it's because of my location, but I've never had an ad on Twitch. Yeah, it's probably because of your location. Good for you. Lucky you. I'll be honest, I'm not like my streams aren't big enough that I, make money off of the ads or anything like that. Like I technically I think I make fractions of a penny that eventually add up to something. Like I think they gave me I think I made $100 for like a year and a half of streaming on Twitch. I think it might have been $50. I don't remember. I didn't check. It's been a while, so I don't remember. But something like that. Yeah. So it's not that, it's definitely not bringing in a ton of money for me. That's for sure. Um, the, I stream on both just because I know that some people prefer one over the other, really. Otherwise, though, if I had to choose just one, I would probably be ditching Twitch. They've been doing a lot of stuff that I'm not a fan of lately, but I don't want to get too much into that nonsense. But yeah. Um, that says if you're on PC, you can use ad blockers and never see ads on YouTube. Can you? I don't know if you still can. Um, but I feel like the ads on YouTube aren't very invasive. That's what it seems like to me, at least. Okay. Um, I also like the fact that I can stream 2K and 4K. I'm not doing 4K right now because I just had bad luck with it, but I am doing 2K streaming on YouTube, which I do like. I like being able to do that. Des says, yeah, I'm in both places currently. Yeah, I know. Des is everywhere. Everywhere all at once. Something like that. Can't remember the title of the movie, but yeah. This is a really tough painting. we'll see how well it comes out. I I'm what's it called? Oh, there's a word that I can't think of right now, but um I guess nervous might be another word for it about some aspects of this reference. They are really not good for painting. Like it tends to make life very difficult and tends to not make the best paintings. But the overall the overall image, I like so much that I'm, throwing caution to the wind and trying it anyways. And we'll see how it turns out. Because these aren't issues that are impossible to deal with. It's just, it tends to make life harder. The the biggest one and the most obvious one is just her mouth. Generally speaking, when you people who are smiling, big smiles are usually, there's a reason you don't see a lot of portraits of people smiling. It doesn't usually look very good. Um, and it's harder to do. I did think about closing her mouth, like just painting her with a closed mouth. Um, Decided not to, but I was considering it for a while. I'm also thinking about driving out to Jerry's Artorama um, to pick up some colors that I don't have for areas where I'm trying to get color that you know, what's it called? That I don't think I can with my current palette. And I don't know if it's worth it or not. I'm on the fence about it. Also, I have a coupon, not a coupon, a gift card for Jerry's Artorama online, but I can't use it in store. So do I really want to spend money on paint that I could get for free right now? Not really. So yeah, I know it's a weird thing to be thinking about, but you know, it is a thought that occurred to me. So the paint is now in a kind of a bad spot to work on, honestly, but I don't have time to wait for it. Um, the paint is some sections are dry, some sections are tacky, and some sections are completely wet. Usually at this point, the best thing to do is just leave the painting, let it dry, come back later and work on it. I don't have time for that, so I'm not going to do that, but that would be the ideal. Hey Vanessa, welcome. Uh, how you doing? I keep seeing you on I saw you recently again on the Facebook group for oil painters. I was going to comment on something and you commented on it and I was like, "Oh, she made a good point." And I was going to go back to it and make a comment and then what's it called? And then I forgot to, so I never did because I struggle with things like that, but that's just me. It's just how I am. Struggle with online forums and stuff like that my whole life. So nothing new there. Vanessa says, yeah, I waste too much time on Facebook. I think it's cool. I mean, I can't talk about what you do otherwise on Facebook, but I think it's nice of you to participate in that group and, help people out and stuff like that. Like, I think that's a really good thing. I also, not to make everything into, selling and everything, but if you ever did, try, move on to that, having any kind of name or any kind of following could be helpful. So, there's also that. Not that I'm saying that's why you're doing it or anything, but, it's worth considering as well. Those people might not be the people who will buy your stuff, though, which is unfortunately the reality. A lot of artists don't buy art uh, just because they can't afford it. Hi, Misu. Misu really wants attention, but only under her very, very specific, you know, criteria. Fortunately, I can't give that to her right now. So, well, but yeah, I um, talked to my mom, and she was saying she watches my videos, and she was saying that she's, surprised or impressed and slightly frustrated about all the information I give away in my videos. Because she's like, why would anybody pay to be like to take your class if you give away everything? Um, you know, I'm just like, well, for starters, I don't have a class right now. But also, I think, this information is already out there. I'm not necessarily saying anything that hasn't been said before. Um, and I also don't believe in hoarding, like, what's it called? Painting secrets or anything like that. So Vanessa says it's definitely something to think about. I'm not ready yet, but yes, building an audience is definitely a goal. Yes, yeah, absolutely. But if I can make a recommendation, and this isn't just to you, just let me just put it this way: the comment that you said I'm not ready yet is what sparked it, but that this doesn't mean that like if you're not ready, you're not ready, right? But I do want people, you and anybody else, don't wait till you're like perfect at something to start because you're not going to be perfect at anything to before you can start. Like just start. Once again, not necessarily you. There is definitely such a thing as not being ready. So I'm not trying to apply it specifically to you. That does exist. I'm just saying in general, I know a lot of artists, maybe it's not you, but I know a ton of artists who are like, you know, more than ready and they're like, "Oh, I'm not ready yet." It's like, "Okay. If you're not ready yet, you're never going to be ready because, that type of thing." I have seen that many times. Vanessa says, totally get your point. Yeah, good. And that is something, worth mentioning when talking with people in this format. It's very hard to be very, very specific or know each individual's circumstance, of course. So when I say stuff, if I say anything, and you're like, that's completely wrong, or that doesn't apply to me, or that's, then take everything I say as like a little bit of a generalization, because there's no way, there's no way for me to not, talk in that way, in this type of format. So just I thought worth mentioning. Um, it's tough because there's this kind of, there is this direct interaction that we're having, and yet it's also a not a direct interaction. So it's a very odd thing that can sometimes muddy our perception of things. Um, I'm painting in her gums right now, and I've been watching Arcane season 2 right now, and one thing that stood out to me in Arcane was how they decided to render the teeth. Um, and there's a lot of things I like about Arcane. Uh, I really liked season 1. Season 2, not I don't like as much, but there's still a lot of really good things to it. Um, but I'm not a fan of how they rendered teeth in it. I don't know. Yeah, not my favorite implementation of that. So it's just something that like stands out to me, and I'm um, keeping in mind as I paint right now. One of the issues I have with this painting is that the photo that I'm using for reference is so poor that it is legitimately hard for me to see some of the details. Um, and when I run a filter on this to show me the edges of things, which is how I usually, you know, place place things, that there's so everything's so soft and grainy that the filter doesn't pick up a ton of those edges, unfortunately, which just makes everything a bit harder. But yeah, I am debating running out to what's it called? Um, Jerry's Artarama, and picking up. I think I might need, like, I'm trying to think of the colors I would need to buy for this specifically. I think I would need uh like dioxazine purple or violet, and what else would I need? What else would I need? I would need a stronger, deeper red of some sort. Um, so I think those are the colors I would probably need if I was going to go pick some up. I don't think I need a deeper or darker or stronger blue, because I do have a really strong blue, and I also have uh, what's it called, cobalt teal if I need the like brighter, punchier version. So I don't think I need that. It's mostly like being able to hit those violets that you just can't mix and those reds that you just can't mix. Let's see. Vanessa says, I don't know if this helps. Don't know if that can help. I zoom out a lot and somehow it gets clearer. Oh, yeah. I get what you mean. It can. This is this is specifically like not specifically, but part of it is for the filter that I run on it. So I use in Photoshop, I use a filter called I think it's glowing edges. And what it does is it finds the edges of things and it makes like glowing lines around it. Um, and then the reason I do this is because I can place that on top of the photo of my painting. And it basically like makes outlines to show me where everything goes. It's only really helpful for placement, right? Because you can't paint from it, but it's a way of helping you see where your where your marks are and where the you know, where the placement of everything is. Um, it's kind of like using a projector, you know, in a way, but it's just a different way of doing it, I guess. Vanessa says there is something for that. I draw them by hand like a noob. I mean, to be clear, I am doing it by hand. I'm I'm basically looking over to the side and compare it. Like I have the two overlaid digitally and comparing the two. Um, oh, like a layer for my outlines. You mean, oh, you hand draw your outlines? Yeah, that's a good way of dealing with things. And it's a good way of choosing your shapes, you know, making like more, um, what's it called? You know, it's a way of making, I guess, better choices or, you know, like giving yourself time to make those choices. Also, if your program doesn't have that filter and it's just easier to do it that way, also really good option. Um, because of how I've been doing things lately, this has been my go-to. Part of the reason for that is just because of like, I've been doing so much so fast lately that like I would not have the time, generally speaking, to um, you know, to do that for every painting and drawing. Regardless, like I would not have the time for that. But like I said, I do think that there's a definite advantage to that. Like it gives you the time to really design things and it gives you the time to look over what you're about to paint and be more familiar with it, see all the upcoming pitfalls, and yeah, I actually, you know, I do think there's a huge advantage to doing it that way, to like outlining your um, taking your photo and then digitally like outlining it and everything as a separate layer. Sour Cream Lady says, where do you get your reference from? So this reference I shot myself. Generally speaking, the reference I get is either something I shot myself or I find a lot of things online. I usually use websites that are like, free stock image websites. There's also on Reddit, by the way, there's a few forums on Reddit, like Reddit Gets Drawn, I think it is, or Reddit Draw Me or something like that, where people post their photos to let you draw them. Um, you know, so and there, like I said, there are free stock image websites out there that you can use. It's best to take your own photos if you can. That is without a doubt like the best route to go, in my opinion. But I also recognize that that is not always an option for everybody. But that is like, I think, probably the best route. Um, this photo I took at a local gallery here in Austin. They had a what was it? It was a poetry slam night. Um, and then afterwards they had an event with it was a photographer and model event where they brought, it's like a meet and greet for models and photographers. This photo I actually got from the poetry slam, but other photos I got from the model session. Um, but this was a candid shot that I took. Now, the thing about candid shots is, first of all, the camera I was using was not very good, so that obviously causes some problems. But the thing about candid shots is like, the light source, they're not always, or rather, they're usually not perfect. They're usually, far from perfect. But I personally really like candid shots. Um, generally, generally more than the posed ones, I would say. Sometimes the posed one, I mean, obviously, sometimes the posed ones are awesome, but um, you know, something very special about candid shots, in my opinion. I have a camera. My uncle gave me a 11-year-old camera um, that that I now take around with me everywhere I go. Unfortunately, the lens on it, the interiors broke. So now every time I use it, it sounds like it's grinding sand and the lens like flickers around like crazy for a few seconds before I take a photo. So I don't know how long it's gonna last. But um, once it dies, we'll see what I do. I have to figure out if I can find a replacement lens. Um, I mean, I know I can find a replacement lens. It's an issue of like, how much is it going to cost me? And is it worth investing for a really old camera? I know I have a better camera, the one above me that's filming this right now, but I don't want to take this camera everywhere I go with me because it's not a very durable camera. It's not weather sealed. It's not like it is mostly plastic and I would be in a really bad spot if something were to happen to this camera because then I wouldn't have any way of filming or recording or taking photos of my paintings or anything. So I feel like that would probably be a bad thing to do. Obviously, you can take photos with your cell phone. A lot of people take great photos with their cell phone. Nicholas Uribe takes most of his photos, like his candid shots and everything, with his cell phone. So it can be done for sure. Um, you know, Vanessa says it feels real. The candid shots, yeah, they do. There's just something about them that makes it feel real. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that's so there's online, I think it's Pixabay and Unsplash and Pixel Later or Pixeler or something like that. Those are some of the free stock image websites. The one thing is, if you do go for stock images, you will be spending a lot of time searching. Um, if you have time, there's a lot of ways to get people to model for you for cheap or for free. Obviously, it depends where you live, but a lot of places, there are people who will do it for free or for very cheap or in exchange for the photos, so there's so much you can do for cheap. It's just an issue of time, which is obviously an issue. Vanessa says, that's actually a problem. Now I want to start photography. So many things to learn. So yes, I've been getting into photography lately. Um, and I will say, so the thing about photography is, it depends what you want to do with photography, okay? Eh, because I feel like photography has, um, there's a lot of different steps of learning photography. Um, that like along the path to being like a professional photographer or a great photographer, even if you don't want to be professional, but like a great photographer or whatever, there's a bunch of steps along the way. And it depends what you want to do with your photography, because if all you want it for is reference, for yourself, for paintings, you don't have to learn or go through all of the steps. And you don't even have to really, there's a bunch of steps where all you would really need is someone to kind of like say, give you the cheat sheet of it, and you can skip 90% of it. So, and not to say that photography is easy, it's still, photography is very hard. It's a matter of like, this is mostly the technical stuff that, you need to like skip, right? Depending on what you want to do with it. There's a ton of things, like I'm watching, I watch YouTube videos about photography and stuff like this, and they talk about all these things, and I'm like, in the beginning, I didn't know what any of them meant. Some of them were important, some weren't important, but I didn't know which were and weren't. I wish I had a photographer who could just kind of, help me along. It would have been really quick, saved me a ton of time. But yeah, they talk about a ton of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't care. I don't need to know this. I don't know. It's like, whatever. I'm not, and then I watch all these camera reviews about all these things, and I'm like, I don't care about that, and I don't care about that, and I don't care about that, because none of those things are things that affect me or how I want to take photos, because of the type of photography specifically that I want to do. It there's a goal to it, right? So I think you can learn it pretty quickly. And you also, the gear you need isn't like the highest end gear, and unless you actually want to do it professionally or something, but you can really, like, depending on what your needs are, you can get away with some pretty cheap gear. Um, or maybe not cheap, but we'll say um, we'll say more budget friendly gear, you know, for sure. Also, I think that one of the really interesting things is that photography, like what I've said this before, but what makes for a good photo, um, unless it doesn't always make for a good photo reference for painters, unless it's well, no, actually, I take that back. It just doesn't. Like, good photography doesn't necessarily make for a good photo reference, right? It depends. It's not never, but just kind of depends on what it is, right? So many times, especially people, they photograph people. The way that most photography for people is done just sucks for photo reference um, for paintings. It's great for photo reference if all you're doing is, if you're looking at it but you're not going to be painting it, like you're going to use it for photo reference but invent something new, sure, it's great. But if what you're doing is painting from it, a lot of it is just awful. So the lighting is bad or boring. Um, yeah, just awful. Unfortunately, sometimes you're going to have to work from awful photo reference too, though. That is that is a reality. Well, I take that back. Depending on what you're doing. Um, speaking of, I need to open up my commissions and let people know that I'm available for commissions. Been kind of avoiding that, but I think I probably should start. But when you do commissions, a lot of times you end up working from horrible reference. That's what brought that to mind. Yeah, you often end up just working from really bad reference. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, right? Because like sometimes the people you're painting aren't alive anymore. There's only so much you can do. Vanessa says, you're encouraging me now. Not sure if it's a good thing. So many things I want to do. Yeah. Well, so here's the thing with photography. Okay, first of all, you have your phone with you. I'm assuming your phone has a camera on it. You can just go out and take pictures. It's like painting. The more photos you take, the more, um, you know, the better you'll get at it, right? The big thing is, the big thing with photography is, okay, so there, let's break it down into a few different sections, right? When it comes to photography, you have your technical side of things, how the camera works, how photography works, um, how your phone works as a camera, and so on. And then you have the more artistic side of things, right? So here's the thing: if you're doing photography for for reference for your paintings, uh, then there's not a huge learning curve there. You have to work on it a bit. Don't get me wrong. There's of course a little bit of a learning curve there, but if you already know how to do your paintings, then basically what you're trying to do is find a photo that matches kind of your vision of a painting, right? So there's not a whole lot there. Don't get me wrong, there is a bit of a learning curve, and if you're working with people and working with models, there's definitely a learning curve, which I can talk about because I had an experience with that recently where I was like, oh, okay, this is a whole thing. But that aside, there's not a ton there that you really have to work on, and a bit of practice will get you there pretty quickly, right? Because you're already doing the painting side of things. So the artistic side of things you're already doing, you're just doing it in a different medium. So the more comfortable you are with your camera, the more automatic using your camera becomes, the less you'll have to think about it, the more you can focus on your art. You know what I mean? So that part's kind of taken care of, if you will, right? Like as an artist, that's kind of, you've already been practicing that just in a different medium. Now there's the technical side of things, and hold on a second, I'm going to catch up on chat and then I'll talk about it. This says, oh yeah, in the paint group, I see so many, and I'm like, please, you're setting yourself to a hard time photo reference for commissions. Oh yeah, for sure. And Des is sharing Pixabay and other stuff on what's it called? On Twitch chat. What was I going to say? Okay, so then you get to the technical side of things. As far as the technical side of things for using a camera, you know, you don't need to learn everything, right? I mean, if you want to, by all means, go for it, you know. I can see times where theoretically you might want it, but like, for instance, I don't know how to work with a flash, right? Like, I don't even know. I have a flash for my camera, and I don't even know how, like, I know where it goes on. I don't know how it actually goes on there. I don't know how to set it up. I don't care. Like, I guess you could, you know, if you want to learn it, fine, go for it. It's probably not that hard. Whatever. You know, um, there are some basic functions to the camera that you need to learn. Obviously, your phone is easier than. Oh shoot! I need to give my camera a break. Speaking of, obviously, there's some similar functions on your phone. If you put your phone into like pro mode, you can get a few of it. There are some terms that are like that you need to learn that can be what's the word I'm looking for? Confusing when you first start, and they're so counterintuitive. Like what is it? So aperture and f-stop. I don't know if they're actually the same thing, but people use them interchangeably. And aperture is the whole of the lens, right? Because it has these blades inside that can make the hole larger or smaller. And what's it called? The smaller it is, the larger the number, and the larger the hole is, the smaller the number is. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but whatever. Make it confusing. And then there's also the thing of like the lens type. So everyone's heard of like 35 millimeter lens, right? Or something like that. There's also 35 millimeter film. Obviously we don't use film, but 35 millimeter lens. And it gets really complicated and technical, but you don't have to know all of those technicality things. All you have to know is like, you'll get a feel for it as you go. Like, what is a 50 millimeter, like how much that a 50 millimeter picks up versus a 35 versus a 10. The lower the number, the wider the area. The larger the number, the like further away you have to be from the thing to photograph it, and the narrower it gets. So like the easiest way to remember that is that, like, if you've ever heard the term 200 telephoto, that means like it's um, like a large lens that goes very far. So the larger the number, the further out it is. The lower the number, the wider it is. Um, you have things like exposure length, which is just like how long it exposes the photo. I'm not really good on that. I don't know what a good amount or a long amount or short amount is. I don't know that much. ISO is like the sensitivity of the sensor. The lower the number, the less noise, but the darker the image is. You kind of have to balance noise to lightness, I guess, depending. It's not the only thing that determines how light it is, obvious. So your aperture and your exposure will all let in more light. So it's a balancing act, basically. Once you play around with them, you'll figure it out pretty quickly. If your cell phone has what's it called? If your cell phone has, some cell phones have pro mode or manual mode, and you can play with these in your cell phone, and it just shows you on the screen, and it's really obvious and makes everything so much easier. Mirrorless cameras, do as well, but not everyone has a mirrorless camera, so just kind of depends. I'll say if anyone's getting into photography, my recommendation is, even though it might be a little more expensive, go with a mirrorless camera over a DSLR. That would be the biggest recommendation, I would say. And the reason is a mirrorless camera functions like your cell phone. As you change the settings, as you up the ISO or lower the ISO, as you change all those settings, you see it on the screen, just like on your cell phone. When you get a DSLR is an older version it was before mirrorless cameras existed. It's when DSLR basically fits timeline-wise in between what's the word? Film and mirrorless cameras. It went digital, and DSLR is what came from it. And they're older cameras, so you can get them for cheaper. But the disadvantage is, as you play around with the aperture or the ISO or any of that stuff, you don't see it on screen or in the viewfinder. You don't see it as you make those changes. You only see it after you take a photo. The reason for this, to get technical, is DSLRs have you have the lens element. The light goes through the lens, and then before it hits the sensor, there's a mirror, and the mirror bounces the image to the viewfinder. So when you're looking through the viewfinder, you're seeing directly what the lens is seeing. And then when you take a photo, the mirror moves out of the way, exposing the light sensor in the back. Mirrorless cameras work more like your cell phone, where the light sensor is always exposed, And when you click, it just freeze, in theory, freeze frames what it's seeing and saves it, basically. So the viewfinder in mirrorless cameras, the little thing you put your eye to, it's actually an electronic viewfinder. It's basically a little screen that they have for you to look at. It's still very useful, by the way. My camera, the one that I'm filming from up here, doesn't have a viewfinder, and I didn't care about that when I bought it, but I'm very sad about that now. It's just one of those things. It's very helpful when you go outside and shoot in outdoors. Having a viewfinder is very, very helpful. But yeah, I don't know if that helps, but yeah, photography, it's not that, the technical side of things you'll learn real quick. And like I said, you know, part of the problem I had when I bought this camera was I was looking for a camera that could take photos, take good photos and also do video, because I'm filming and recording and all that stuff. Um, if you don't need to do the video, you can um, you can go for an older camera that can't produce, you know, like isn't as good for video, but can do really good photos still. So there's a lot of options out there. Yeah. And then I guess the other thing was too is trying to learn all the different the different brands and all that stuff can get a little complicated. Um, I would say if you're looking to get a used older camera, first of all, if you don't know much about cameras, get it from, you'll pay more, but get it from a reputable place like, um, what is it? I think it's KEH and MQB and uh, H um, B&H. Just search used cameras, you'll find it. They offer like a short warranty on their used gear and stuff like that. You'll pay more, but at least you're not getting something that's like complete trash, and then uh, for camera companies, if you're going for an older camera, I would probably, I don't know. Trying to think. There's a bunch of, I mean, I don't think it matters which company you go for too much, really, especially if all you're doing is photography. If you want an everything camera, if you want an everything camera, I'd go a bit newer and spend more money. Um, you know, it just kind of depends what your needs are. Mhm. Speaking of needs, I am going to have to take a very short break to get something to drink. But yeah, if you have any camera questions or photography questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind talking more about it. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick break and go get something to drink. So I'll be right back. Heather, in what world do you think that they will stay there? The cats will not stay in front of the camera. Not to mention that I'm standing right now. There's no way for me to put the cats in front of the camera when I'm not here. Just munching on some peanuts. Yeah, they won't. Sorry, Vanessa. I know you second that motion, but they will not stay. Let them wreak havoc while you're gone? No. Dresden would 100% get paint all over him, and that would not be a good thing. Yeah, Vanessa, if you remind me later in the Discord, I can share some YouTube channels that talk about cameras and stuff like that. One of the things I've learned from all these channels is that, like, these channels, these people, they talk about photography in a way, and it sounds like, oh, you need this type of gear, you need this or that or whatever. Um, but it really depends on what your needs are. You can really, you can get away with a lot. Like, you don't need the newest gear, you don't need the best whatever. Like, you can really, there's a lot of cameras out there that can be super useful and produce fantastic images, especially if what you're using them for is reference images for yourself. So, and so you can really go with much cheaper stuff. It just depends on your needs. Like I said, when I bought this camera, don't get me wrong, this camera is still a cheap camera. This one, the one on, right? It's a cheap camera, relatively speaking. But um, but it can do video and I can use it for streaming, you know. But if I didn't need the video aspect for it, oh, I would have bought a much cheaper camera. You literally can get a good stills image, still photo camera for like um I don't know, $200 to $400, something like that, in that range. You can get it cheaper if you're really hunting, but yeah, you can pretty easily get a camera for like $200 to $400. Um, do I think you can make a like, would I say like this is what a professional photographer should get? No. But if what you're doing is photos for yourself, photos for your photos for your painting, reference, stuff like that, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if you also use if you're okay using certain programs like Photoshop and or equivalent programs. The reason I say that is because you can definitely get away with you can fix a lot of things in post, or certain things you can fix in post that help a lot. So that's also helpful if you're comfortable with those things. Um, yeah, the lenses also um, make a big difference compared to um, you know, like the sensors. So just to give you an idea, like the crazy thing is like the sensors, um, they reuse sensors for years and years. So like you can get a camera that has you can get a new camera that has a sensor that is essentially, you know, 5 years old, right? Well, you can also just buy a 5-year-old camera, right? You don't, so don't get me wrong, there's more than just the sensor, there's the processors inside of it, um, and all the computational stuff that goes into digital, right? But once again, a lot of that stuff, or not a lot, but a good amount of that stuff doesn't matter to me or a lot of people because like one of the things is like speed, like how fast can you take photos? How many photos can you burst out, you know, in quick successions and how fast does it write them and so on. It's like it's not a huge concern for me. Don't get me wrong, the more the better, I guess, technically, right? Because like sure, I'm less likely to miss something, but not the biggest concern I have in the world, right? So that's why I say you can get away with a much older camera a lot of times. Oh yeah. Okay. But yeah, like everything, the big thing I come across is time all the time. Okay, Des, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I hope you feel better. Um, there's a video, one of my favorite painters, um, one second. Okay. Yeah, one of my favorite painters, Jeremy Mann, he has a video on YouTube about his photography, and he's crazy. Um, he really gets into to photography, or he's really into photography, but he's into like really messy, you know, messed up photography, the way, kind of the way he paints. But he has a video on YouTube that's something like behind the dark room or something like that. You can, you know, You can find it on YouTube. It's fun to see, but the point I'm making about it is like, first of all, no, I do not think that you need to do what he does in order to get good photo reference, right? Because he's a crazy person. Um, Hold on a second. So you don't need to do what he does. However, it just goes to show you that you also don't need like the newest perfect camera gear to do good photo reference for yourself. That's crazy. I'm just doing some quick color picking on my computer just so I can see the colors better. Just, I don't, oh, actually I do. For the longest time, I didn't have this. Wait, camera, find me? I didn't have this, so I couldn't use it to isolate my colors, but I recently found it, so I can use it. Totally forgot that I'd found it. Very useful. Because color picking informs you, but you don't see it as well. So sometimes color picking isn't as good as isolating colors. The skin colors on this reference are all messed up because this was taken indoors and all the lighting was like super cool red and blues and everything, so not very natural. I could color correct it, but I do like cool colors, so I'm okay with it. Like it doesn't, have to be the most natural colors in the world. I'm okay with that. It's just something to be aware of as I work through this. I'm all for doing, leaving brush strokes, but there's also at the moment too much brush strokes on her face. I need to smooth some of it out a bit. It's definitely a balancing act of like smooth to brush marks. And if you want to know what the right balance is, just for the record, the correct balance for smooth to brushiness is yes, because you can do whatever you want. It's art. You can make it as smooth or as brushy as you want it to be. Do whatever you want. Possibly not the most satisfying answer in the world, but whatever. What can I say? Vanessa says, I had a 2-second moment here, like, what? Oh, yeah, art, no right or wrong. Yep, exactly. Well, here, the thing is, like, obviously, there's what you want, which is the right answer. But, I know I follow so many artists, and some of them are just like, you know, um, not some of them, all the ones, not all the ones I follow, but a lot of them are like just amazing, right? And that's why I follow them. And yeah, there's a variety of, from like very, very brushy to very, very smooth and refined. So there's a variety that you can like all of it. And you can also want to do all of it. That's okay too. Just you can't do all of it all at once, right? That's just I think the big thing to keep in mind. You want to do all of it? Sure, go for it. Go crazy. Just don't do it all at once in the same painting all the time. Like obviously the same in one painting you can have both, right? Like it's not obviously you're going to have both. Well, not obviously, depending on how you paint. But the focus is what I'm talking about overall, right? But if you want to do a very, very brushy painting, go for it. If you want to do a very smooth painting, go for it. Just don't do them both at the same time necessarily. Like I said, you can make that work, but then it's a different thing. Like the example I would give is a Vincent van Gogh painting would not be a Vincent van Gogh painting if parts of it were very, very smooth and parts of it were very brushy, the way he paints, right? Like, it just wouldn't be the same thing. So, that's all. So, I will definitely be putting in some, brushy marks as I go, but there was a lot of unintended texture, which is okay. I also like that, but the face is a little more of a sensitive area to have some of those marks in for me personally. There's an artist, I can't remember his name. Des actually shared a painting of his recently with me. Um, can't remember his name, but he paints with like a ton of texture in the face and stuff like that. So you can absolutely do it. Um, you know, just depends. The other thing to remember, this is something I need to remind myself too, is that a lot of times what you see as texture or what you see as like unintended marks, right? Because like I paint and I'm like, okay, that I need to get rid of that mark and fix that and do that. What I see is not what everyone else sees. They just see, they see it as a whole and maybe they don't like it or maybe they love it, right? Like it's one of those things where they take it as it's just there, it's part of the painting. Whereas I see it as something that I have yet to change or fix. So that is something to keep in mind when you're painting and learn to, you know, evaluate. One thing I noticed that helps with that, if you have it, is time. Because I can't tell you how many times I have worked on a painting and been like, oh, I'm going to fix something on it. But, something came up and I don't have the time to work on it. And like I take a break and then, something else happens and I come back to the painting like a couple days later and I'm like, what was it I needed to fix again? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, something about her cheek or her hair. And I'm like, I vaguely remember what it was, if at all. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know, it's fine, I guess. Like, yeah, I don't know, it's fine. So you know, having that time away can sometimes change how you see things. Nessa says agreed, but I'll be honest, I'm not positive if she's talking about what I'm talking about or if it was a message from earlier that I didn't notice. I guess I should put the timestamps for myself. That would help. I don't have that set up right now. But yeah. Also, time can also help you see things that you didn't see before. That's a known one. That's something that more, art teachers talk about. It's like, step away, come back with fresh eyes, and you can see the mistakes and everything. And that is true and very helpful. Another thing that's very helpful along the same lines is just to, people do the mirror technique where you look at your artwork through the mirror. And another technique is to um, take a photo of your painting and see it small. It's surprising how useful that is. So often, if you want to compare your painting to your reference and you're having a hard time, just take a photo of your painting and try and square it up as much as you can, and then to take your reference and put them side by side in a small, like in a as if you're going to message someone, so you just see it small, but see them both at the same time. Oh my God, totally. You'll totally see all the mistakes that you made and you weren't sure about. Or at least that's been my experience and a bunch of other people's experience. But yeah. Oh, Vanessa says it was earlier about the brush marks. Got it. Yeah, yeah. This is something that has come up a lot in like online classes since everything has gone online. Um, I'm part of Chelsea Lang's boot camp, and this is something that a lot of artists experience. They'll they'll ask a question and then they take a photo of their painting to show for the purposes of getting an answer to their question. And in that process, they already see the issue because they now see them side by side, small next to each other, and it like resolves the issue and they see it suddenly. And it's like, oh, well, that's all you had to do. You didn't even need to technically ask the question. You could have just taken a photo of it from the start and just see if that solved it for you. And as it says, I resume all of those methods would change your perspective. Oh, you mean you what's it called? Not resume. Resume's not, I don't think the right word. I think what you mean, or maybe categorize or um, bunch all of them together, or yeah, what's the right word? Heather, what's the right word? I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, basically, yes, changing your perspective really helps. Summarize? Yeah, summarize. That might be it. Lump together, uh, categorize, or yeah, all of those probably. I'm sorry I was on the phone and I missed what was the question. No worries. Vanessa says, sorry, French direct translation in my head. Hey, no worries. Um, the question was, Heather, the question was like a word for categorizing or grouping like a bunch of techniques all in one. Um, yeah. And like I said, categorizing technically I think works, but I don't know if that's how I would do it. Some Vanessa says summarize, which might be pretty accurate. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is, it's like a category of techniques, basically, like lumping them all together. Classification, yeah, classify them. Yeah, maybe that would work too. Yeah, Vanessa says reduce or simplified. Um, yeah, maybe reduce all of those to just change. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. And all of those, anything that changes your perspective will be helpful in that manner. Uh, for people for people who paint sitting down, and they want to be able to get closer and further away from their painting, um, using your cell phone is very helpful, or getting some lenses that some cheap like school sciency lenses that make it smaller can also achieve the same thing. And also changes your perspective and can be very helpful in that way too. Uh, Nessa says, ladies and gents, on today's show, we learned about art, photography, and English. Yeah, I'm not the right person to learn English from, that's for sure. All right, I need a break from her face. Let's move on to her hands. Um, just it's good to take breaks from certain things. Once again, get to go with fresh eyes. Um, I'm, I am at some point I'm going to need to take a break, like a long break, eat dinner, do all that type of stuff. And I'm debating on if I want to try streaming again after that, like late tonight, or do something else. I've also thought about doing YouTube, not YouTube, sorry. Geez, my brain just goes to one place. I also thought about doing um, Discord calls, like open Discord calls where I just hang out in Discord as I paint, and people who want to hang out with me can do that. You won't, people aren't required to be on camera or anything. Um, I've been debating doing that, you know, as I try and get this done. I don't know if anyone's interested in something like that. But if anyone is, I guess let me know. It also doesn't have to be like right now or today or for this painting specifically, but just like if that is something that people are interested in, I can I can do that more often and possibly even schedule it. I can also do a thing where like we um, do that on the air, but that one's a little dicier because I don't. It kind of depends on the people. Vanessa says, "Let me try my Boston accent." Okay, so I'm going to be banning Vanessa. Got it. No, I'm kidding. That'll be funny. I'll be down to hear your Boston accent. Vanessa says, just kidding. I'll probably paint for the next 3 hours. That's fair. But yeah, I don't know. It's something I've been, considering doing. Like I said, I would love to do a thing where like I would really love to do a thing where people um come on what's it called? Like join in and I stream and this is separate. I'm just saying in general, like I would love to do something like that. The one thing I'm worried about is like, not you, Vanessa, specifically. I'm just saying like if I open it up too much, then anyone can come in and that could create some problems. But if I close it down too much, then there's not going to be enough people, or it won't be available enough to people, I think. So I don't know that it'd be worth it. That is while streaming. If I'm doing it just to hang out in Discord, that's not a problem. Like I can open up to everybody. That's easy. I'm talking like streaming it live onto YouTube while doing it, The reason I'm interested in that is because I feel like if people are in this, if people hang out in Discord with me and are talking to me, then we can have an actual conversation. People can hear the conversation, but it's also a way of like, you can actually ask me questions, or we can talk about actual subjects without the like character limit of YouTube and so on, which I think would be really nice overall. Sorry, what now? That was strange. My computer was acting very strange. But yeah. Um, Vanessa says, yeah, without the delay and the need to read, yes, that would be very nice. Absolutely. Yeah, the delay makes the conversations very difficult. I know. I'm, I hang out in enough live streams where I'm the viewer. I know what you all are going through. Um, and then the reading part for me definitely, um, you know, it's a different mental muscle kind of thing, and that part it does exhaust me. This constant switching back and forth because I am really good at talking and painting. Um, but talking and painting and then reading makes it a lot harder for me personally. So yeah, all right. I'll see about doing some more of that. I'll see about scheduling it or something. Try and figure out how to do that. I will say this though. I knocked the stream down from 4K to 2K on YouTube, and the latency is actually pretty good. I mean, there's still a delay, I know this, but when I do my mic test, I get to hear like how long the delay is from the time I say it and the time it comes back. It's gotten a lot better, and at 2K versus the 4K, it's definitely a lot quicker. Obviously, there's still the delay of like it needs to reach you, and then once it reaches you, you need to respond, and then once you respond, there's a bit of delay till it gets to me, and then So obviously, I know that there are delays in this process, but it's a lot better than it was with the 4K. Um, the latency right now is I don't know. I'd have to measure it. Let's see. I could probably measure it real quick right now. Um, let's see. Yeah, I bet I can do this real quick right now. Um, okay, let's see. From the time I say this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it's having some issues and not coming through at all. That's because I have music playing. Hold on. All right. Music, I hit pause and it didn't work for some reason. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right, so testing. About 10 seconds, roughly. Yeah, about 10 seconds. That's pretty good. A lot better than the 30 to 40 seconds it used to be. That was quite a bit. Mm. All right, we'll see. I might give it another 30, maybe 30 minutes, and then I'll be taking a long break. We'll see. I'll end stream it basically, and then I'll see if I come back or not tonight. The thing that sucks about stream is that, like, the reason I decided to stream today and I'll be streaming tomorrow is it forces me to paint, right? Like, I'm streaming, so I'm painting, right? Great. However, the negative is that streaming is exhausting. And after I stream, I feel like I crash. Like all my energy just disappears. Um, so that makes it hard to keep working if you crash out afterwards. So we'll see. And I haven't quite figured out why streaming is so exhausting to me. Like I haven't figured out what can I do to make this streaming experience less exhausting. Because when I paint and when I stream, when I paint without streaming and when I stream, it's almost the same thing. Um, in the sense of like I paint standing up, I'm standing here painting, like all of that is the same. So the thing that is different is the interaction that I'm having with people and the constant reading, um, and the constant talking. That is, those are the big differences. But I don't know. Like I've definitely been on the phone for hours before. I don't think I've found it as exhausting. I don't know what it is about streaming specifically. It might just be the combination of everything, like having to keep an eye on the stream, having to talk, having to read, having to paint, like it might just be that it's you know, the uh the culmination of all of it together, or the accumulation, I guess, of all of it together. Uh Maybe, but I'm not sure. I don't know how I would test that. Like how can I do a stream where I like isolate individual factors and see if I find it as exhausting? Not quite sure how to do that, but that would be the way to do it. Vanessa says dividing of attention focus. Yeah, it's definitely, I think that might be a big part of it. There's also another factor too, which is, um, there's an element of presentation to this, right? Like obviously, I- I'm aware of the fact that I'm on camera and I am, presenting myself to a degree. Whether or not you think I'm doing a good job of that, totally different subject. But right, I am. This is a presentation of some sort, right? So, you know, there's also keeping that in mind, right? Like I have to just be aware of that at all times, um, which is another, you know, thing, another attention thing to be aware of, right? So, yeah, it might just be all of those things combined. Oh no, probably. I will say this. This is one of those things. So, um, for people who don't have any mental health issues or have never had any mental health issues, who have never been depressed, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome. I yet to meet that person. Um, but the reason I mention it is because there's this thing, people are very, humans are very interesting in that sense. They've done studies, for instance, um, there have been studies that have done that where like if you if you're in a bad mood or not feel, if you're in a bad mood, you're feeling down. If you force yourself to smile, and I don't mean grimace, you just fake a smile, right? If you continue to do that, it can help improve your mood because our body can't, our bodies aren't that smart in a way. And so it's like, oh, you're smiling. You smile when you're in a good mood. So you're smiling, so you're in a good mood. It can help. And I'm not saying it'll help with everything all the time, but it can help. Um, and when you go outside and you're in public, people have talked about like putting on a public face for certain things, right? Because even if you're in a bad mood or you're feeling depressed or you're whatever it is, and you go out, there's like social etiquette and social norms that people still follow. Those things can really help sometimes. So last at the end of last year, um, around it was like right around Thanksgiving, my grandma passed away, and I wasn't super close with her. I wish I'd been closer, but family and distance, and it is what it is. Um, but it's still sad. Still, I was still sad about it, of course. And I did not share it on stream because I didn't want it to be, I don't know, I didn't want it to be a thing. But, you know, um, obviously part of life, right? Um, but yeah, I was down about it. I was sad. And having stream where I'm here talking about, art and focused on painting and talking about everything, and also putting on that presentation face of like you know, this is what I'm doing right now. Um, it can help sometimes. So there is that. That is one of the things I do really like about streaming. It's not, to be clear, it's not about being fake. It's about just like not focusing on something all the time type of thing. Vanessa says, yes, you need to be self-conscious. That's exhausting. Yes, true. Being self-conscious is exhausting. I agree. I'm, for people who get tired when you go out to, some people get tired at public events. Some people feel very energized. The whole like, oh, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert or whatever. No one's one thing, right? To be clear, like, well, not no one, but you know what I'm saying. You can be both. It just kind of depends on the event, depends on a ton of factors. So, but yeah, I can be a bit of an introvert and sometimes, and going out to public events or, being aware where I have to be like aware of myself all the time, I can find that tiring for sure. Also, I will say this, I do think that like talking so much, my voice, I definitely feel it. Like my voice is like, yeah, you don't you don't talk that much all the time. You're overworking me. Which I mean, might mean that I should talk more often, but you know, that might be a different issue. What was it? Last year I had to do I was part of this class uh in Austin for like running your own business as an artist, and I had to do a presentation at the end of it. And even though I do essentially a presentation here every day, not every day I stream. Um, oh, it was so much harder to do it in person. A, in person was so much harder, but B, I had a time limit to do the presentation, and that made it so much harder. Oh my God, public speaking. Like, I know I'm public speaking right now, but public speaking when everyone's there to watch you is different. But the time limit was the worst part about it, without a doubt. Like, that is what messed me up the most, is the time limit. That's what made me the most nervous. If they had just been like, hey, we're not going to give you a time limit, just go up there and present. Yeah, I would have had a much easier time. Or, okay, I'll rephrase that, because if the time limit had been like an hour or two, I would have been fine, right? The time limit was 5 minutes. Doing doing a presentation in 5 minutes, trying to get that snappy, rhythm and get everything done, that was tough for me. I bought this quinacridone rose from what's it called? Um, hey Cassandra, welcome. How you doing today? I bought this quinacridone rose from uh, Winsor Newton, and generally speaking, I think of Winsor Newton as a totally like, you know, if you want if you want paint, if you need professional grade paint that you can do, professional work with and so on, and you're trying for the best price here in America. Obviously, different countries are going to be a little different, but here in America, Gamblin and Winsor Newton are some of the most popular, right? And they are totally serviceable, right? I know professional artists who use these brands. Absolutely. Like, you can totally do it. I'm not loving this rose, I'll be honest, and I'm really not. I'm finding it Like I feel like, so the reason I bought it was a good price and it was a bigger tube for like a lower price. And I was just like, okay, maybe I won't like it as much as my other rose, but like, come on, the price difference is huge. No, I don't know. It's, I feel like I end up using so much extra of it that I don't know if it's even worth the price difference, honestly. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence about that. Let's see. Vanessa says, don't get me started on them. You're never gonna be able to eat. Started on what? Cassandra says, not bad, decent enough day. What's wrong with it? With the rose? So, first of all, it's got like a waxy feel to it. And I don't know, I feel like the vibrance of it is lower. Um, and so when it mixes, it's not as powerful. Um, so I feel like I go through so much more of it um, than I do with when I used my other one. I still have some of my other ones. So the last quinacridone rose I used was M-gram, and you can see the tube's not empty. I was trying to save some paint in some tubes because I wanted to have some tubes for travel. So I was trying specifically to keep some tubes with a little paint in them so I could have something for when I'm traveling. Um, but yeah, this one was Winsor Newton, and it's a 200 mil tube. It's not 150, 200, and it's usually, it was cheaper than the other brands, but I've already gone through, like it was completely full, and I feel like I'm going through it really fast. Cassandra says, "Good gravy, that's a weapon." Yeah. Vanessa says, "I bought bismuth yellow from them, uh, from Winsor Newton. I take it it's not good." So here, I recently tried I recently tried Tuscan Pine. It's it's Jerry's Artorama's own personal, like the store's brand, their new brand. I actually like it. I bought bismuth yellow from them because it was on sale, and I bought their titanium white, and I actually like both of them. They feel really good. Um, I prefer um, what's it called? I prefer M-gram because I do like the softer paint, but M-gram has zinc in their white, so I won't use their white anymore. And M-gram has, I don't think they have the 150 bismuth yellow, if I remember correctly. Also, worth noting, these two tubes, this one's heavier than this one. That's just the pigment, like that's just the way it is, but this one's substantially heavier than this one. Cassandra says, that's encouraging. What's encouraging? Don't know what's encouraging. But yeah, I do. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if I'll buy this rose again. Um, the problem is not a ton of companies have not a ton of companies have large tubes of rose or bismuth. And the other issue is that if they do, if you, if you've never used it before, then you don't know if it's the right color, especially rose, because rose can be more red, less red. It can be a bunch, and it's you don't, it can go anything like anything from fire engine red to violet. It can be anywhere in that range. Um, so if you don't know what color you're getting, it can be a problem. Yeah. Oh, Cassandra says that Jerry's paint isn't bad. Yeah, the Tuscan Pine one so far, I've only tried 2 colors from it, but I really like it. Actually, I have a third color from them, but I haven't tried it. Yeah. Let's see here. Burnt sienna. They they actually accidentally sent me burnt sienna. They sent me burnt sienna instead of the yellow that I had ordered. So I messaged them and I was like, "Hey, wrong wrong paint." And they're like, "Okay." And um so I got a free tube of burnt sienna. So I guess I can try that out and see what it's like. Maybe I'll do a painting with it or an underpainting with it. Cassandra says, yeah, I went looking for a rose in the paint I use, and they just don't have it. Yeah. Nice free paint. Yeah, absolutely. And then Vanessa says, first, it's made with safflower oil, which was a surprise and not a good one. Wait, what's wrong? Which one is made with safflower oil? If you're talking about the titanium white, yes, and that's actually a good thing. I don't know why that's a bad thing. They feel super fluffy and waxy, like a wipe paint, so light on the brush. Wait, which one feels fluffy or waxy? And then, like Vanessa says, question mark Holbein, Winsor Newton bismuth yellow. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one feels waxy too. That's my point. The permanent rose feels waxy and I don't like it. But safflower oil, why do you have an issue with safflower oil? So a lot of what's it called? Titanium white, uh, or like variations of titanium white have safflower oil in it because it's a lighter color paint, or sorry, not paint, oil. And when they're trying to get the titanium white to be as bright as possible, so using safflower oil helps with that. I assume the same with I would assume the same with bismuth yellow, although I would think that like having yellow oil wouldn't affect it really, but yeah. But yeah, the Winsor Newton just feels waxy and I don't like it that much. And yeah, it's hard to find rose. What's it called? I think if I remember correctly, what's their name? Um, I tried to find it in oh my God. I think Gamblin, and I don't think Gamblin has it either. Or if they do, they don't have the large tube. Either way, yeah. Vanessa says, uh, Vanessa says, like zinc, it's common, both really a good thing. Zinc? Okay, I think we're getting some things talking a little cross each other. My understanding is that zinc is not a good thing to have in oil paint. Oh, Vanessa says it's not a good drying oil like walnut oil or linseed oil is. I wouldn't worry about it too much, um, because I suspect, um, I think that they do honestly, I suspect that they do a mixture or the drying agents that they use. Like I haven't found any problem with safflower oil paints. Um, maybe maybe over time it'll be an issue, but I really haven't found any issue with them personally. But that's just me. But I have never had any issue with them. Let me put it this way. Okay. Let me put it this way. So far, out of all the paints I've tried, and I haven't tried them all, I will never claim that, but out of all the paints I've tried, I have never had any issue with any of my paints drying fully or um, anything really. Vanessa says, plus it's pretty slow, so they add a bunch of additives and dryer to it. That's fair. I can see that. But yeah, I really haven't had any issue. The only reason I'm avoiding zinc is that my understanding is that zinc can be a problem down the line, and they've kind of proven that at this point. Same way that like some light fast paints, will have an issue over time. So same thing with zinc. So if it's a known issue, right? Like if I knew for sure that using safflower oil would delaminate, then I would stop using it. But my understanding is people have been using safflower oil for quite a long time. And especially when it's mixed in with all the other oils, because I never put down a layer of just safflower oil, um, it makes me far less concerned about it personally. I'm not saying I'm the, the authority on this. I'm just saying personally that makes me a lot less, worry a lot less about it. Vanessa says, in white, I have no problem. I get the purpose of it. In their color like yellow and red, I prefer to avoid it. I get that. I do understand that. Hey, Don Lee, welcome. How you doing? I mean, I do understand avoiding it if you can. Definitely. Like I said, I will not use any paint that has zinc in it anymore because of that. It just sucks because my favorite white has zinc in it, so I have to go with other brands. Oh well. How you doing, Don Lee? What are you up to? But yeah, the Winsor Newton rose, it feels waxy and it feels. I get what Vanessa is saying, fluffy. It's not fluffy necessarily, but it you know what it is? It feels almost hollow. Like you pick it up and you're like, oh, I grabbed so much paint, and then you go and mix it in and it just dissolves and you're like, where did all my paint go? I just put down a bunch of paint. Where's my paint? It just disappeared on me. That's how it feels a little bit. So uh, maybe, maybe the yellow feels fluffy, but the one I have, that's how I describe it. I don't know. Dunley says just got back from eating. Is your paint is your painting giving off some karaoke vibes? Yeah, I can see that. It's not karaoke. It was actually slam poetry, but totally get the karaoke vibes. I can totally see that. The shirt she's wearing is killing me. I'm gonna have to simplify it a bunch because it's like the most obnoxious pattern that I can't understand what I'm looking at. Like the pattern is so chaotic on her shirt that I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I have no clue what these random colors are. So I'm gonna have to just like, simplify a lot of it and make it into like I mean, it's still going to be random colors, but I have to, figure a way around it kind of thing. Dunley says you captured a great smile there. Thank you. Appreciate that. Cassandra says when you showed it to me, that was the first thought of the shirt. Yeah. I am going to simplify the hell out of the shirt. Actually, you know what? I think I need to work on that a little more right now. Um, but yeah, the I will say the Tuscan Pine white is very nice compared when I compare it to some other brands I've bought. Yeah, I like it. It's very nice. I think what I'm going to do for the shirt is I'm going to turn the shirt white because there is a white base to the shirt. And so I'm going to turn most of it, not all of it, because I can't do all of it, but I'm going to turn most of it white. And then you know, I'll add the splotches back on top of it. I think that's going to be the way to approach it. And to be clear, white just means as if it was a white shirt. So it's actually going to not be white for most of it, but I'll leave the design off of it kind of and try and just paint like what color it would be if it was white for the most part. I think that's going to be how I have to approach this shirt because otherwise it's just going to be impossible. Cassandra says you'll work out the shirt, I'm sure. Um, Cassandra says it looks like my paints do have a quinacridone red available with the same pigment code as rose. Wonder if it's worth trying. Well, does it call itself quinacridone rose or does it say quinacridone red? Because here's the thing, a lot of times when it says quinacridone red, it is more of uh, it's a red that is similar to pyrrole red, roughly, to give an estimate. Um, Dresden, oh, baby boy. Hi, baby boy. Hi, are you hungry? Is it close to dinner time? Yeah. Do you want to eat my face? No, you just want to lick my face? Okay. Oh, I love you. Yeah. Dresden, everyone's saying hi to you. I know you don't understand, but they're all saying hi to you. This is Dresden, for anyone who doesn't know. I have three cats. This is two girls and a boy and a dog. But yeah, this is Dresden. Donnelly says star of the show. Yes. Star of the show has arrived. Yes, absolutely. He's hungry. They want dinner. An hour early. Oh, okay. He did not vomit, but he did gag for a second. You okay, little boy? What was that? You okay? Yikes. Yeah, I know. Seriously, yikes. I don't know what happened there. He's fine. He didn't. hairball gonna get you? Yeah, seriously. He he unfortunately does suffer from hairballs in general because I mean, look at him. Cassandra says, "Sorry, I can't finish this painting because the cat harked on it." Yeah, no, that was unexpected. Vanessa says, Holbein Quin Rose feels somewhat darker than Quin Magenta, but lighter than alizarin, if it makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, the way I would say it is that quinacridone red uh, can be roughly the color like hmm, it can be roughly it can be um like a cool version of cadmium red medium or cadmium red light. Uh, maybe cadmium red dark or deep, depending. Kind of depends on the brand, right? But Pyrrole red is also a good one um, to compare because Pyrrole red is kind of like fire engine red, but it has just a little bluish to it, which I suspect most quinacridone reds will have, regardless. Um, I think they'll have a bit of that. But yeah, something like that probably is my suspicion. What else? Yeah. So I will say this: if you want a rose color or a magenta color, um, and it says red, don't buy it. I think it would um, probably wouldn't be what you're looking for. But if there is no alternative and you want a split palette so that you can have like a cool red and a warm red, then maybe it would work. I would also just look at Pyrrole red or something called, maybe they'll call it crimson or something like that. But be wary of look at the pigment codes because sometimes what they use for oh, what is it? Alizarin crimson permanent. It's it's not as vibrant of a color. Um, so check to make sure that whatever they're using for the pigment isn't the same thing as alizarin crimson permanent, because I could see some brands using that pigment as their like crimson red or something like that, and then you're just losing out on a bunch of saturation. So I would say that. Cassandra says, thank you for your lovely painting brain. Hey, happy to help. I'm kind of doing a split palette right now, and I'm unsure that I like what I've got. Okay. Um, and Heather says, painting is looking good. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. Okay, what time is it? 6:40. All right. I am going to have to end stream. Cassandra, message me your palette in Discord, um, if you don't mind, or if you want to talk about it some more. Yeah. Vanessa says time to eat. Yeah, time to eat. Time to feed the cats too. They need to eat. So I'm gonna go do that. Take a break, so on and so forth. I might be on Discord later. We'll see. But stream tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow as well. So we'll just see how things go. Anyways, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate all the conversation. Yeah. French says, see ya, Leah. Thanks for that entertainment while I meal prepped. Looking good so far. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy your prepped meals. All right. Have a good one, everybody.